Am I the a-hole for calling my aunt a creep and outing her as a homewrecker? To preface, I, 27 female, have an aunt that is 55 female. Let's call her Susie. I've never been very close to her, as she constantly torments me and picks on my looks. And when I was 20, she bullied me into an eating disorder. Despite all these things, I stayed cordial to keep the peace in my family. However, last week was my breaking point. For backstory, Susie has 2 daughters, 18 and 14, who are still teenagers. It is known amongst the whole family that since Susie's divorce in 2016, she neglects them badly. She doesn't cook, doesn't keep groceries at home for them, and my cousins have even confided to me that she refuses to buy them new clothing. Despite my differences with Susie, I drop off home-cooked meals to her daughters, will give them hand-me-down clothes, and offer to help them out with schoolwork. Most of the times during my drop-offs, Susie would be on her way out but would always remember to make a jab at me, whether it be what I was wearing or even how my makeup was done. I usually brushed it off, as aggravating as she is. One day in particular, her eldest daughter confided in me that she wanted to move out because she couldn't deal with Susie anymore. She would yell constantly, and make her daughters clean all day, and scream if it weren't up to her standards. In addition, Susie was going on multiple dates a week, with different men, one of which was married with a 1-year-old baby. It was 15 years younger than her. Now, I'm not one to gossip, but I told my cousin that if she needed anything, that I would be there for her, and went back home. The following week was my brother's 18th birthday. I'm newly engaged, and my fiancé and I made our way to my mother's home, where a small get-together was held. In total, there was around 25 people, including Susie and her daughters. Cue my breaking point. Susie was ogling at my fiancé the entire time, 27 male. He mentioned that it was creeping him out a bit, and we decided to make our way to the opposite side of the family room. Susie didn't like that. I decided to raise her voice and proclaim to my fiancé in front of the entire family that it must be tiring to be with me, and that when he finally got sick of me, he could get with her because she's a cougar. I was livid. Without hesitation, I told her, "You can fool around in your free time and break up marriages all day, but you will not disrespect my fiancé and I. You absolute creep and sorry excuse of a mother." The entire room went quiet, and she got up right then and there and took off with her daughters. My family actually supported my reaction and told me that they'd been wishing someone would finally tell her off. I do feel bad because I did cause a scene at my brother's party and told everyone what my cousin told me in confidence. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before the little update. Not the a-hole. She had it coming. Years of mistreatment and torment will bring anyone to breaking point. And if she doesn't like the truth, maybe she needs to question her actions instead of going after everyone else. What she said was incredibly tacky, and she was expecting you to brush it off like normal. Instead, you bit back. The fact that your family are agreeing with you says it all too. Don't feel bad. You finally had enough, and I doubt she will try much again. Please call CPS on her. Yeah, she's not acting in a way that is safe or healthy for anyone around her. Not a-hole in any sense, but please take the necessary, yet frustrating difficult, action to rectify this messy situation. Thank you, Opie, for having the heart and moral fortitude to bring this up to the community, though, because we truly care about you and your well-being. Not a-hole. That was probably your brother's favorite present. Susie didn't like that and decided to raise her voice and proclaim to my fiancé in front of the entire family that it must be tiring to be with me, and that when he finally got sick of me, he could get with her because she was a cougar. Like, you could literally pretty much respond any kind of way and I would still say not a-hole. If your aunt doesn't like being called a creep and a homewrecker, maybe she should stop being a creep and a homewrecker. It would have been awesome if Opie's fiancé would have given her a look that says, ew. Now for the little update. To those concerned about CPS, I contacted Susie's ex-husband. He's actually a good man, and now his daughters are staying with him and are in safe hands and quite happy. Susie had a meltdown following what happened, and without hesitation let her ex-husband take her daughters and all their belongings. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my brother his actions led to his kids not speaking to him, and I won't sit by and let him talk crap about them? My brother ruined his relationship with his kids when they were still young. Part of me was understanding of his struggle for a while, but that ended a while ago. Background: he was married to Sarah, had Jesse Lee and Cole, but when they were 7 and 8, Sarah died. A year later, he met and married Marion. Marion had Jake 11 and Macy 4 at the time, but Jake was a troubled kid. I can't go into it all here, But 3 years into their marriage, Jake went to a residential treatment facility for mental health. The 3 years before were hell on the household, and my niece and nephew never forgave their dad for exposing them to Jake for so long, and then expecting them to want Jake back home with them all. They fought for a long time over it. Jessie Lee once told me Jake was scarier than all the bad guys in horror movies combined to her, and her dad always told her he was family, that he loved her and her brother and they loved him, so it would be okay. When the kids turned 18, they stopped talking to my brother. They still talk to the rest of the family, which pisses him off. He started telling us how selfish they are, how they simply don't like that you were married, that they're punishing him for finding love again, etc. It's their fault things are so broken because they were unwilling to understand. I called him out every time I heard something, but yesterday while dropping off something at our parents' house, he decided to push back. So I told him it was his actions that led to this, and that I won't let him talk bad about kids because they did not deserve what he let them go through. He is now accusing me of dogpiling on him and saying I never liked that he moved on from Sarah. She and I became friends while she and my brother were dating, and that I should be more sympathetic to him and Marion. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. It sounds like Jake was pretty horrible, and though he was suffering with mental health, it seems like your brother didn't protect his kids from him and didn't take their feelings into account. Do I think Jake should have been banished for having issues? No. But it sounds like he caused your niece and nephew some trauma on top of their mom passing, and it sounds like your brother didn't do anything to help or protect them. You were simply being honest about the situation. I think what in part made it worse was he expected them to love Jake, to want Jake back and act like nothing had happened. Had he not expected that and understood that they were glad he was no longer in the home, maybe it could have been something for the kids. But he didn't, and he hated how happier they seemed after. He failed to protect his own kids from someone with a major mental health issue and pushed them to like that person. Of course they want no contact. He failed his kids. Not stay home. You told your brother the truth and he didn't want to hear it. He sounds like someone who never takes responsibilities for his actions. Rather than acknowledging the role he played in the situation, he thinks it's acceptable to trash talk his own kids. The truth is, he chose his marriage and stepkids over the mental health and safety of his biological children. He was their only parent left. His main priority should have been to protect them and remove them from any situation that was physically or emotionally abusive. He was talking about your niece and nephew that way and you corrected him. For 3 years, he saw issues with Jake and didn't address them or try to protect his kids, then expected them to go through it all again. He cared more about making things work with his new family than to care of his actual children, using the family excuse for inaction on his part. I don't fault his kids at all. I feel bad for Jake as well. He clearly needed help and didn't get it for years. Part of the problem was no amount of regular help was enough. He was full of anger after the death of his father, and that anger was not something love or regular therapy could help. And it couldn't be helped when he was around people who seemed to make the anger flare worse. His mom, my brother, and my niece and nephew especially. I feel like Marion wanted to keep him home and try to help him there, which is understandable. But my brother essentially put his well-being first. But then, and this is something I think that pushed the lack of contact now, he expected my niece and nephew to have love for Jake, and didn't like their ease and happiness that he was no longer in the home. But from the second they were introduced to him, there were all these severe issues, and yet he expected a familial and sibling love for him. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to see my dad even though he is really sick? I'm 2 years older than my brother. When I was about to go to college, they said they didn't have the money and it massively messed up my plans, because they have a high income so I can't get aid and scholarships. I moved out. I started working because I want to save up before going to college, and I started college the same year as my brother did. I always assumed my brother was loading up on debts by going to a really expensive private school. But then I saw a story he posted, bragging about having his schooling paid by our parents. I texted him and he said it was just bragging online. But I asked Mom and she's not a good liar, and she fessed up that they were paying for it. It still makes me really freaking angry. I have better grades, I have a better application, but all of that doesn't matter. Nothing I ever do matters. I've not visited home since that day. I worked so freaking hard for my grades, so I just don't understand why they don't care. I did all the right things and they still care more about my brother. Now my dad is sick. He has cancer and it is pretty bad, so my mom is begging me to come back and see him. He is upset too. My brother called me and yelled at me for being a horrible daughter who is a greedy witch. I'm worried sick for him, but I can't put myself through visiting him. I'm just barely holding on emotionally, but I know they need my support, but I am being a huge a-hole by not doing it. Not an a-hole. Your parents treated you as if you were lesser than your brother. You have no obligation to see your dad. I agree, but Opie seems like a compassionate person, and not seeing her dad may be something that will haunt her down the line. Opie, you are not an a-hole whatever you decide, but really think about the long-term impact on you. Possibly there is a half measure of sending your dad care packages and cards, but not engaging fully so that you don't get caught into becoming a main caregiver, or offering blanket of forgiveness that you are not ready to give. Then you can look back with fewer regrets since you showed compassion and kindness. This is a really compelling argument. Opie is not a hole by any stretch of the imagination, but I also feel that specifically avoiding their father in this cancer-related situation could have psychological implications down the line. I recommend attending a therapy session before deciding fully. Best of luck. Not today, Hole. What your father is experiencing is the consequence of his own lies and favoritism. That family's toxic, and your brother's downright mean. Greedy? That's first-rate psychological projection there. Do what's best for your mental health. You might want to check out the sub r/estranged adult child. And regarding the Redditors who think you'll be wrecked with regret later, the red flags are all over this. Opie will likely be subjected to more verbal and emotional mistreatment if she goes. Edit. Another thought. These relatives may be trying to hit Opie for free labor. Nothing in the description says he's on his deathbed. If the doctors decided he had 6 months to live, then he would qualify for hospice assistance. Right now, he's just pretty sick. Which can mean they want help with bedpans. Bad thing. Rides to medical appointments, and they don't want to pay professional. Maybe because daughters don't deserve an education, but it's a daughter's duty to pitch in when the parents' health fails. Those two outdated beliefs often go together. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for literally being the cause of my brother canceling his wedding because I couldn't get over the fact it was child-free? Plus, a little update. I-17 female originally was meant to be a bridesmaid at my brother's, 25 male, wedding in 2020, but they canceled when my sister-in-law found out she was pregnant. There was no talk of a wedding till 2 weeks ago when they surprised us by saying they were legally married, but we'll have an official wedding with family and friends at sister-in-law's aunt's mansion to save money for the honeymoon. I was excited. Even though that sister-in-law was going to ask me to be maid of honor when she and my sister, 25 female, asked to talk to me alone. Well, no. I wasn't maid of honor or even invited. Apparently the aunt said kids weren't allowed at her mansion, but she'd allow my sister's daughter, Flower Girl, and my brother's baby to be at the ceremony for 20 minutes, so they could take pictures, then they had to leave or she would shut down the wedding. They explained since it's a child-free wedding, and I was technically a child, lol, I wouldn't be allowed to attend anyway. So they decided I'd babysit along with a bride's 16-year-old cousin, a total of 9 kids as a way of being involved in the wedding without being there. My sister-in-law had got to tell me she'd even count it as a wedding gift if I would take a few days off school to babysit while she's on honeymoon. I honestly couldn't speak due to the shock, till my sister suggested I should take their kids overnight because they'll all be hung over the next day. I screamed, no, I'm not your nanny. Don't ask me to ever babysit again ever. Screw you and your kids, before busting out crying. My parents came into the room demanding to know what happened, so I told them and they were pissed. My dad said I wasn't their slave, and he was sick of them treating me as such. Then my mom said if they even attempt to pressure me in any way to babysit again, they wouldn't pay anything towards the wedding. We all got into a massive fight. My brother told my parents not to go to the wedding, and my sister claimed I was the favorite so she isn't on speaking terms with them either. The wedding ended up being cancelled because the other girl wouldn't babysit alone, so no childcare, and they were counting on the money from my parents for multiple things. My brother texted me today, I hope you're happy, you little witch. This is all your fault. You ruined my wedding all because you couldn't accept it was child-free. You're pathetic. My sister texted me similar stuff all day, blaming me for being petty. And if anyone is wondering, my siblings are twins. Now for the comments before the little update. Not day home. If in their eyes you are too young to attend a wedding, then you are too young to babysit. They didn't want you to come because they wanted a free babysitter. They should hire one and simply stop being so entitled. They can have it both ways. They claim you're a child so you can't attend a child-free wedding, but you're adult enough to supervise 9 children for days? and miss multiple school days to accommodate as well. Child-free weddings generally mean 12 and under, unless it's a venue that has an age restriction for insurance or legal purposes. In our aunt's home, there's no difference between you attending now or after your next birthday, other than they just wanted to use you and don't care about you celebrating their marriage with them. Lol, no. If the wedding was actually going to happen, they would have hired babysitters and paid them. This is not on you, and you're being used as a scapegoat. Now for the little update. So I showed my parents the text a few hours ago. Well, my dad yelled my brother's ears off about a grown man harassing a child till my brother hung up on him. My sister ended up coming over with her crocodile tears, trying to play victim about feeling overwhelmed with the kids and missing my parents. She didn't look at me once when she cried about no childcare or her mental health. My parents told her it's 100% my decision, and they'll support me either way. I told her I will never ever babysit again even if there's an emergency, and if they think about just dropping the kids off, I'll call CPS. I'm done trying to be their sister. I don't wash my hands of both of them. My sister called me a selfish witch, and my mom said she was disappointed in my sister for all this mean girl BS, and that she needed to leave. My sister-in-law rang about 20 minutes ago apologizing, and said in 2 weeks when everyone is more calm, she'd like to host a dinner so we can all make up and be a family again. My parents are going, because I want them to make up with my siblings for their own sake. But as for me, I think I'll have plans that night. Update. Am I the a-hole for not forgiving my daughter? Me and my daughter used to be best friends. We did everything together. She truly was the light of my life. But things started to change in her teens. Moodiness, lashing out, lies, etc. I just thought it had to do with her age, that she would grow out of it. I really tried everything. Family therapy, long talks about how much I loved her. But none of it worked. She would either roll her eyes back or spit more of her venom. My husband works really long hours and isn't of much help, to be honest. My husband is white and I'm black, so my daughter is mixed, but she looks white. She really takes after her father. This is relevant. I really don't know what I did wrong, but her dislike for me began to become pure hatred. She would question all the time how someone like me could be her mother when she was white and I was black. At some point, she even demanded a DNA test. I said sure, if she paid for it. She was not pleased with the results. She is 17 now and has begun dating this white boy, and she is head over heels for him. She refused to let me meet him and told me that having a jobless N-word for a mother truly shamed her. I'm a stay-at-home mom. I don't think I have ever experienced such pain. Long story short, I couldn't take her antics anymore and decided to go back to my family in Cuba. My daughter couldn't be bothered to even say goodbye to me. A few days ago, I received a message from my daughter asking for forgiveness. Lots of how she can't fit, is in a really dark place, and lots of excuses. It may sound cold, but I don't want to see her face. I don't care about her apologies. I thought I had made a right decision, but my husband thinks I should really hear her out and forgive her. My family has been harassing me to go back to Miami and make peace with her, especially mother, and friends have been reaching out and have even called me a crappy mom for not forgiving her, and how I must have done something for her to behave like she did. My anxiety has been over the roof and I'm back on my pills now. Is this really my fault? Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the update 3 years later. Not the a-hole. As a mixed person, I would never say that to my black parent, and would never say that to anyone, period. She's your daughter, so I wouldn't kick her out of your life forever. Not that you're implying that, but remember this and don't forgive her right away. I would suggest therapy or time away for yourself. Also, you're not a horrible mom. Yeah, if she's 17 just now, then I'd say she may grow into a totally different person than a kid who treated Opie like this. I'm also mixed and cannot imagine saying this to a parent. A lot of young teens say and do horrific stuff, feel bad and learn from it, and grow into decent adults. Definitely needs to be therapy, and get into why she was acting like this, healing wounds, discussing seemingly enabling dad, etc. But nobody will fault you if it takes a while before you even want that, Opie. I have to wonder who is filling the daughter's head with this crap. Does this come from her school, social media, etc.? It may be better if the daughter flew down to see the OP, paid for by both parents. That way, she can meet her mom's side of the family and see what life is like for them to get to know the Cuban side a bit better. OP isn't required to uproot her life just because the daughter has had a sudden change of heart. Daughter has to earn it. Absolutely not the a-hole. I hate to say it, but your daughter has been emotionally mistreating you, and your husband seems to be complicit in this. Not the a-hole. If any of us said anything even half that hateful to my mother, Dad would have been all over us. That would not be accepted, and it would be made clear what our error was. Where was her husband in this? Now for the update. I know it's been 3 years, but several people still ask me about it because they saw my post on TikTok or other media. So, I wanted to make this post to thank everybody who gave me such kind and sensible advice 3 years ago. Even though I didn't reply, I read most of the replies, good or bad. And I'm thankful for all of you who encouraged me to give my daughter a second chance. I'll summarize it. I went back to Miami and she gave me a heartfelt apology and explained all the dark things her boyfriend was getting her into. We got into therapy once again. She left her horrible relationship, and these past 3 years our relationship has become better than ever. It was not easy, but definitely worth it. I'm glad I didn't give up. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling mom she's a terrible mother and giving her a 3-day notice to move out? I, 23 female, live with my fiancé, 23 male, and my siblings, 20 male, 17 female, and 15 female. I have been taking care of my siblings since I was 8 years old, simply because we have crappy parents. Our mom is an abusive narcissist and our dad is a passive-aggressive drunk. I've been responsible for the lives of 3 children since I was a child, but I love my siblings nonetheless. About 2 weeks ago, my brother came to me and begged me to let my mom come and stay with us for a few weeks because she had recently become homeless. I was reluctant, but reality is my brother pays bills here as well. And even though I don't have any love for either of my parents, I would never strip away the love my siblings have for them. As you can imagine, living with a horrible narcissist always ends bad. Despite making things unbearable since the moment she came, last night was the last straw for me. My fiancé or I make dinner every single night, and we all sit down and have dinner together. I made dinner last night and told my mom that it was ready. She got up and got in my face about how she doesn't feel loved here, and how I'm a crappy child, and saying things to my younger siblings that I won't even repeat. There was a lot of back and forth, but ultimately I got back in her face and told her she is a crappy mother. I told her how I've raised her kids for her, reminded her how 13-year-old me and my 11-year-old brother would have to steal food from the store to feed our sisters because she chose a man over us and abandoned us. Told her how I sacrificed my life because her and my dad were trash parents. It ultimately ended with a lot of back and forth and me telling her she had 3 days to get out. Now I'm morally struggling, mostly because of some of the things I said to her. I wasn't trying to be an a-hole, but just years of everything broke me down. Am I the a-hole? Edit. My sisters feel the same as me when it comes to our parents, as in no love for them. However, my brother have always had a soft spot for our mom, which of course I don't fault him for. He's just a boy who wants his mother's love. Not the a-hole. She needs to go before she does any more damage to your siblings. And you? He wants a relationship with his mother? It has to be outside your home. Yep, this. I get your brother still seeks his mom's attention, but don't sacrifice your other siblings for his blind love/loyalty. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Setting boundaries and enforcing consequences, especially with parents like yours, is paramount. You need to protect your peace and your family's well-being. Your cup can't spill over for others if it's not filled up for yourself. Not only that, this gal needs to be in a lawyer's office yesterday. Her mom cannot be allowed to be in a position to claim custody and ruin her siblings' mental health further and worse, especially if they're away from her sight. You are absolutely not the a-hole. What you are doing for your siblings is amazing. Your siblings are extremely lucky to have a stronger older sibling, as thoughtful and as caring as you are. She got up and got in my face about how she doesn't feel loved here and how I'm a crappy child. Ridiculous comment. Maybe if you didn't have to be a parent to your siblings, you might have time and energy to show more love to others. Sorry to your mom, but you and your siblings come first. OP, you are amazing doing what you're doing at such a young age. The audacity of the mom to call her child who is taking care of all of her other children a crappy child? I hope that she has no custody of the other children. Next story. Am I the a-hole for letting my cousin starve? A lot of emotions are overwhelming me right now. So I'll try to keep it simple and to the point. My male 27, cousin female 29, let's call her Sue, is an artist. By that, I mean she has a bachelor in fine arts. Ever since high school, her dream has been to become a world-renowned artist, akin to Picasso, Dali, and whatnot. But honestly, she doesn't have what it takes to be on that level. Thing is, she refuses to work in an industry where her skills would be needed. The most work she's ever done is as a cashier in retail, forever hoping she's gonna hit it big with one of her artworks. Now, I always felt bad for Sue. Her mother made a lot of poor financial decisions and her piece of trash father walked out. My parents, grandparents, aunts, and uncles helped them out financially from time to time, but their attitude towards my aunt was always, she did this to herself. Our family members were extremely angry that Sue chose to pursue fine arts. They all grew up during communism and see this sort of degree was a waste of time. So, they essentially stopped giving them any form of financial aid. I never stopped. About 5 years ago, my friends and I got really interested in D&D. Essentially, I talked to Sue and told her I'd give her a monthly sum of money and in exchange, she'd draw stuff for my D&D campaigns. She was reluctant at first, saying her art is not for this sort of simple things, but I think her mother convinced her to take the deal. Initially, things were working out. I'd pay her every month and she'd send the drawings on time. But as time went on, she began being more and more off deadline. I'd always pay her on time, but she'd be weeks then months late. Last commission was for 10 artworks for a new campaign and she's essentially ghosted me for 4 months about it, while I've still been paying her. I had to delay the start 4 times, and it really ticked me off, because at this point, it's about me letting down my friends. So I canceled the January payment. She couldn't even be bothered to contact me immediately. It was only 8 days later, she angrily calls me asking why she has no money in her bank account. At the time, I was tired and her attitude annoyed me, so I gave it to her straight. I told her how she should be thankful for what I'm doing for her. Instead, she bites the hand that feeds her. How instead of dreaming she'll make it big, she should use her skills to look for a real job. I told her to stop being a leech to her family, and of course that she won't see a dime from me until she finishes those damn drawings. And after that, our deal is off. My aunt called me, crying and begging to send Sue the payment, otherwise she'll have to starve for the month. I don't really have anyone to talk to about this, and I know for a fact my family members would just encourage me to stop helping them. But my wife's attitude towards this problem is along the lines of, we can't afford it, so just help her. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. She agreed to create art for payment, like an artist does. If she either feels D&D is beneath her or cannot keep up with her commitments, then that's her problem. Seriously, she did what every famous artist pre-20th century did. Found a patron who'd pay her bread and butter to create art. Then she decides she doesn't want to make art for her patron, so the patron lets her go. You give no service, you get no goods. So completely off topic, but that's my theory on Winchester House Psychic. I think she made every single thing up just because she found somebody to pay her and believe everything she said. Lol. Not the a-hole. If I don't show up / don't do my job at work, I don't get paid. This is life. You've been more than generous. You won't be responsible for her supposed starvation. She is responsible for her own life, choices, and money. They're called starving artists for a reason. All the examples given by the OP are of artists that died poor. They got famous centuries after their deaths. Lol. Not the a-hole. You're not doing your cousin any favors by continuing to pay her for doing nothing. I've been a working artist for many years, and most people like me never achieve what your cousin is dreaming of. Continuing to wait for it while doing nothing to generate regular income is not going to work. Most artists never have that one piece that hits and make them famous, and have to learn to create many streams of revenue in order to keep themselves going. So for me, that means selling original work, but also selling image sheets, teaching classes, add revenue from 2 of my 4 websites, running a Patreon and a Substack, building my following in social media, having designs available on print-on-demand sites, books on Amazon, whatever I can think of to bring a few bucks in. Your cousin needs some hustle. Withdrawing your support might light a fire under her butt, which is what she's going to need to make it as a working artist. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my dad's girlfriend why we don't talk, causing them to break up? So, long story short, I, 35 male, am basically been no contact with my dad since I was like 22. He will text every now and then, which I will normally just ignore. He has been seeing his new girlfriend about a year and a half now. and for whatever reason, decides to show up for once to his grandson's first birthday. My sister's kid, not mine, and he brought his girlfriend with him to introduce to the family. Now, I am a smoker, as is she, bad habit I know. So I announced was going to be outside for a few minutes and she followed suit. We got to talking and she asked why myself and my sister don't talk to my dad or ever reach out, and I told her exactly why. When we were kids, my dad would either be at work or golfing and basically left our mother to raise us. He makes good money, about $150K a year at a time, now even more. But I had to delay college until I was 25 because I was considered a dependent, and FAFSA for student loans purposes goes off your parents' income. So I qualified for 0 loans, and my dad offered 0 help. So I got a job after high school and moved out, supported myself until I was 18, and went back to college at 25. I graduated with debt, but it's manageable, and I told her at no point has he ever offered any support to myself nor my sister, emotionally or financially, in that he was a cheapskate that cares more about himself than his own family. Now, to my surprise, she had already started noticing these characteristics of my father, and hearing what I had to say just confirmed everything for her. They broke up a few days later after she called him a deadbeat dad and a cheapskate. My father has been blowing up my phone, calling me an entitled a-hole and saying I was an adult and should have been capable of doing it on my own, which I did at 18, with no help. He said I had no right to say that, and I told him maybe if he had been a father, I wouldn't have the need to. Am I the a-hole for airing out my grievances to my dad's now ex-girlfriend? Not the a-hole. You told the truth. If he wanted you to tell a different story, he should have lived a different life. This is a good point. Thanks. Not the a-hole. You were not the keeper of your dad's reputation. If he sees nothing wrong with how he treated the two of you, he should have no problem with anyone knowing. Don't feel bad. You saved that woman some time. How was that quote again? If it can be destroyed by the truth, it should be destroyed. Besides, she was already doubting him. No wonder. If one of your children cut you, maybe it's a child's issue. But if both cut you, well, chances are you are the issue. I have to assume that Opie's dad and girlfriend showed up to the birthday party because the girlfriend had started asking questions like, why do you never see your children or grandchildren? So they came, and Dad hoped against hope that his kids would portray a happy, loving family so that his girlfriend would be impressed. Then Opie went and ruined everything by answering a question honestly. Not the a-hole. If I was the girlfriend, I would have dumped your father too. You have a right to be honest about your relationship with your dad. To be honest, you did a girlfriend a favor by being honest. Seems like your father just showed up to the birthday to fake being a good parent and the girlfriend caught on. The girlfriend asked about your relationship with your dad because she noticed that he might not be a good father to his current kids and wanted the truth. You didn't tell her to dump your father, and it was her choice. If your father wasn't willing to help his own son through college or come to visit his grandkids, it is clear that he won't be a good father to their kids if she were to have one with him in the future. In her words, deadbeat. My mom divorced my dad for the same reasons. First story is titled, Am I the a-hole for walking out in the middle of Thanksgiving dinner after my brother-in-law announced my sister's pregnancy? I, 36 female, went through an incredibly hard time losing my baby while I was 5 months pregnant with him. This has affected me both physically and emotionally. I don't have kids, and my husband and I have been struggling for a long time trying to have kids. My sister has been supportive of me. She's 7 years younger than me and has been married to her husband for 2 years now. She visited me several times to see how I was doing. Her husband, however, seems to have an issue with me personally. He's always been treating me poorly and acting like he's somehow superior to me and my husband. My husband doesn't see my family much, so this wasn't an issue, especially when my brother-in-law comes over. My husband and I were invited to Thanksgiving dinner at my mom's house. We got there a bit late because I was taking care of some tests at a hospital that needed to be done so that my doctor could see them the next day. We sat at the table. My aunt was present. She lives alone, so she always visits and casually talked about several things. I noticed my sister and my brother-in-law were whispering something to each other, and at some point, I heard my sister tell her husband to knock it off. We were confused. We had no idea what was going on. Next thing I knew, my brother-in-law got up from his seat and announced that they were expecting. I looked at my husband and he was shocked, but not because of the news, but the way it was given. My sister hid her face in her hands and did nothing else except that. It took me time to process this while my aunt got up and started hugging and congratulating my sister. I don't know what suddenly happened to me. My heart started pounding, and my husband was already gone to the bathroom to wash up. I just gathered my things and took my purse, then told them to finish their dinner, then I walked out. My sister was sitting there the entire time and just watched me and my husband walked out while my mom was trying to convince me to stay for a little longer. I felt absolutely horrible. I only lost my baby 2 weeks ago, and for me to be taken off guard like that is just horrible. I got no calls nor texts from my sister wanting to talk. Nothing. But my aunt called me to tell me what I did was totally inappropriate and that I should have stayed and congratulated my sister and her husband. Even berated my husband for not reacting differently. I argued with her that my brother-in-law did it purposely and that he could have picked a better time but instead chose to spite me and my husband while still grieving our baby. My aunt still thinks I should have acted in an adult way and not walked out on dinner like that. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your aunt and brother-in-law get that honor. Give your sister time. I'm sure she was shocked that someone she's having a baby with overrode her wishes in such a spectacular manner. And she's juggling a pregnancy and being amazing, supportive sister to you, and her husband just messed it all up. I feel so much hurt because of what he did. My aunt claims that I'm being unfair saying he did it on purpose, but she was there. She saw how he was behaving and I can tell you it was intentional. I'm not being bitter or anything. I've experienced the worst thing in my entire life and this was not okay. I'm human too. I have feelings and I've felt hurt and pain after he decided to spite me and my husband. You lost your baby 2 weeks ago and brother-in-law thought this was a good time to announce? Not the a-hole. I'm sorry for your loss. I can understand they wanted to tell family in person while people were together, but they should have at the very least warned you beforehand or waited until Christmas. Preferably both. At this point, it's very clear that he has a problem with me. He's always been behaving like he has control over my sister, telling her when to visit me and how long she should stay there. He's not a nice person and tends to be controlling and selfish. Not the a-hole. I completely agree with you. Losing your baby only 2 weeks ago, at 5 months pregnant, is very hard. You were still grieving a tremendous loss and your brother-in-law had no couth in announcing their healthy pregnancy at a family gathering. He and your sister are the a-holes here. This stuff is so hard. I would have also walked out too. Hugs, OP. I disagree about the sister being an a-hole. She told him to knock it off before he made the announcement, which makes me think she didn't want him to do it then. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for not putting my baby in the outfit my mother-in-law bought for Thanksgiving? So, I had a baby in September. She's the first grandchild on either side, so obviously everyone is all over her. We'll call my baby Daisy. Both my parents and my in-laws gave us different outfits for Thanksgiving at different times. My parents gave me a little onesie and an overall dress with a turkey on it. It was pretty cute. My mother-in-law, on the other hand, gave us a onesie and a pair of pants, and the onesie said, "I'm here because mom's turkey got stuffed." I actually got rid of it because that's gross. We decided to split Thanksgiving between the houses. Everyone quarantined beforehand, tested negative, etc. And my mother-in-law immediately saw that Daisy wasn't wearing the shirt she bought and asked what had happened. I tried to dodge the question because I don't want to cause a tense situation, but my mother-in-law kept badgering me about it, not even wanting to hold Daisy because she wasn't wearing her outfit. Thanksgiving lunch was really tense, and when we left, my mother-in-law texted me and said it was very rude that Daisy wasn't wearing the outfit she bought her and demanded to know why. I finally told her it was because I didn't want to put my 2-month-old in a shirt that had a natural innuendo on it. And looking back at photos of her first holiday, I didn't want that outfit involved. She called me a killjoy and rude, so I just left her on read. I feel like I'm the a-hole because I could have just humored her for an hour and not have documented the outfit and that it was a gift. My fiancé says he supported not putting Daisy in the outfit and that it made him feel gross too. Am I the a-hole? Edit. I realize I called him my fiancé in the post, but we got married last month. I'm just not used to saying husband yet. Just to clarify if I call him the two interchangeably. It's an adjustment. Not a a-hole. It's gross. You're right. And mother-in-law sounds like a handful, but that's for another sub. Just a piece of unsolicited advice that probably didn't occur to you because you're a new parent. Next time when someone asks and you want an easy out, just say the kid had a diaper explosion in it and you had to throw it out. Yep, that diaper blowout excuse works like a charm. Not a hole. Your kid isn't a billboard for jokes your mother-in-law thinks are funny but you don't. Edited to add. Also, I hate it when people push and push and push for the answer and then get offended when they hear the truth. Exactly. Like you wanted to know so bad. Don't get all pissy when you find out. Not the a-hole. Thank you for putting a stop to inappropriate baby clothes. Yuck. Some baby clothes have awful slogans on them. Like, who is out there thinking up this stuff and other people are like, yeah, that's totally fine to put on a baby who can't even read. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for kicking my sister out on Thanksgiving? My son, 16, was recently diagnosed with an eating disorder. It was something that had been going on for months, but no one picked up on it. Since being diagnosed, he has not left the house except to go to emergency doctor appointments or for some fresh air. Because of his current fragile state, he has to be watched a lot, have his meals weighed and measured by his newly referred dietitian, and he is not allowed to exercise, which is killing him as that was his favorite thing to do. Before COVID, he used to go for runs at his high school gym with his friends, and the fact that he can't now is very upsetting to him. Since his diagnosis, we have to be very careful about what we as a family say and do. Obviously, with Thanksgiving coming up, we knew it would be extra hard for him. For dinners every year, we would make a big deal about the food in family and friends, but with COVID, we limited it to our family. Me, my husband and my son, my parents, and my sister who lives by herself. My sister is very socially conscious and decided to become vegan during quarantine. She openly talks about how much better she feels about it and basically talks bad about what other people eat if it's not vegan. With the diagnosis and my son's consent, we told our family what was happening and made it very clear not to talk about food in any context, including veganism. Everyone was super supportive, and my sister asked if she could still bring her own vegan food. I said yes, provided she doesn't make a big deal about it being vegan and her own lifestyle choices. Cut to today, everything was going well until dinner. I brought my son his food and we had a happy dinner until my sister brought up how her tofu was better than the turkey my son was eating. We all gave her sharp eyes, and she then went on to say that there was nothing wrong with eating turkey, but tofu would make her feel less tired and stuffed after. Although my son tried to put on a brave face, he ended up running to his room and having a panic attack. I was so upset with my sister that right after dinner, I told her to leave. She didn't respect my wishes or her nephew's needs, and for that, she wasn't welcome. I packed her stuff and told her to go, and we spent the rest of the night with lots of tension. My father claimed I was harsh, and my mother didn't say anything, but my husband agrees with my action. Am I the a-hole here? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. She had one job. Yes, this. One simple thing. She can't follow that. Screw her. Your child's well-being is more important, and she just didn't care or think it was real. Either way, not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. You are dealing with your child's serious medical issue. You gave clear boundaries to your sister. She chose to ignore them. She's an adult responsible for her actions. Yeah, I genuinely can't imagine being a big enough douche to do literally the only thing I was specifically told not to do, and on one specific day of the year. It's like she either did it on purpose or simply couldn't help herself. I know it's a popular stereotype, but this story seems to reinforce the quip that you'll know someone is vegan if they never shut up about it. Not the a-hole. Your sister sounds obnoxious and inconsiderate. She just feels very proud of her decision, and I was really hoping for one night she could put aside her views. I'm just upset that it came to this. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole? I abruptly left a Thanksgiving family dinner and told my little brother to come with me. I'm 20 female, the oldest out of 3 siblings. For privacy reasons, I'll refer to my youngest brother 12 male as Yosef, and another brother, 19 male, as Owen. I'm struggling with an eating disorder that has significantly affected my weight. Yosef is considered obese for his age/height, and Owen has a lanky build with a high metabolism. Despite us three weighing roughly the same amount, we obviously have different frames. Now, my parents had a small Thanksgiving dinner with the five of us and invited my aunt, 43 female, and her husband over. Everything was going well. We were having a good time, enjoying our food, sharing laughs, etc. It was a good night up until my aunt decided to talk about our weight. My aunt pointed out that this is the first time she's seen me eat an entire meal since my stillbirth. Bringing up a traumatic experience that I'm still grieving from, surely, made the atmosphere in the house intense. I didn't want to ruin the dinner though, so I laughed it off and tried to shift the focus onto something else. But of course, she insisted on talking about it. She said that if I was in between Owen and Yosef's weight, I'd be physically healthier. I found the comment to be unnecessary and ignorant because, like I mentioned before, us three weigh nearly the same amount. Owen didn't pay much mind to what she said, but I saw that Yosef was visibly upset. He struggles with his self-esteem, so when I saw that he was on the verge of crying, I told everyone that we should wrap up Thanksgiving. This made my mom hostile towards me because I was being disrespectful to my aunt and needed to pipe down. After a moment of awkward silence, I grabbed my belongings and told Yosef that we should leave to the store before it closes. The house is quiet, things are uncomfortable, and Yosef and I head out. We didn't go to the store, but we did hang out at the beach for a bit and talked. When I came by the house to drop him off, my parents refused to open the door. So now, here I am, at my apartment with my little brother who finally went to bed after crying his eyes out. I did get an angry voicemail from my mom. It was pretty brutal. She told me not to bring him back until we both apologized to her and my aunt. I know I could have reacted and handled things better. I was just too caught up in getting Yosef away from them. So Reddit, am I the a-hole for basically kidnapping my little brother during a Thanksgiving family dinner? Regardless, I do plan on apologizing, but want to know if I should still stand my ground. Now for the top comments. My aunt pointed out that this is the first time she's seen me eat an entire meal since my stillbirth. She said that if I was in between Brother O and Brother Y's weight, I'd be physically healthier. My God, is this woman shaming you for having a stillbirth? That's how that reads to me, OP. That she blames the stillbirth on your weight. I can't imagine something more cruel. You are 100% not the a-hole here. Your aunt is a monster, and your mother is defending a monster. I am so sorry for your loss, and you're a good sister. Edited since I somehow missed that it was a 12-year-old brother who your mom won't let go home, and I'm the top comment. Your mom is a monster too, OP. Not just an a-hole, a mistreating monster. I agree with the others below that you need to call CPS or your police non-emergency line to ask for advice. Explain they are refusing to allow your 12-year-old brother into the house. Keep that voicemail and play it for them if you can. If you are willing, ask about guardianship. I am so sorry for your loss, and that didn't get the family you deserve. If you haven't already seen a therapist since the stillbirth, I really recommend it. I found it helpful after my pregnancy loss, and it could be really helpful in figuring out how to best support your brother. Soft hugs if you want them. No, I think it's the other way around. OP lost a lot of weight after her stillbirth, from grief, and Aunt is saying that she needs to go back to eating full meals again so that she can gain weight to be between her two brothers, both of whom she also indirectly insulted, lol, one's too thin and one's too fat, apparently. But she's blaming the weight on the stillbirth, not blaming the stillbirth on the weight. And either way is a huge gaping a-hole. Not the a-hole. Your brother is lucky to have you, and your aunt is a craphead. Your mother might be even worse, as she's the one who needs to tell her sister to stand down. I'd ask your mom if she wants to bring his clothes over, or should you pick them up? Not the a-hole. OP, F your mother. Tell her if she doesn't open the damn door, you'll call CPS for neglecting him. And should apologize to you. I'd be damned if I were you and apologized. No way. Not the a-hole. Your aunt was cruel, and your mother worse for not defending her own children. And your father as well, because he's not mentioned but apparently did not speak up to defend his children either, and participated with your mother-in-law talking their 12-year-old out of his house. Shoot your mother a text and ask her if she plans to drop off temporary guardianship papers for your brother since she is refusing to allow him back into his own home. And however this gets resolved in the next day or so, be sure to find a way to remain in touch with your brother because at his age, he is very vulnerable and may be subject to more BS once they allow him back into the house. I'm sorry for your loss. It's a heartbreaking thing to be forcibly reminded of on a holiday by someone using your pain to be cruel. And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you with the next one. Stay safe.